Phil, good afternoon. How are you? Good to see you.
Absolutely fine, Richard. Thank you.
I just wanted to, before we start, just in terms of terminology, obviously we know you as Oxford Bus Company, but you're also responsible for Thames Travel, carousel buses, city sightseeing, as well as Oxford Bus Company. So reference to Oxford Bus Company really is meaning all of those under one roof. So hopefully that clarifies it for any of those that might know Phil is responsible for any one of those four. Yeah, we've had regular contact throughout the pandemic, and obviously it's been incredibly challenging for everybody. And I must admit, I've seen you really positive, but I've seen you pretty down in the dumps at points. It's been obviously a real battle.
Yeah, no, it has been hard work. It's been very up and down. It's been a bit of a roller coaster journey, really. I'm really proud of the way that everybody stepped up to the mark, whether it be engineers, drivers, office staff, schedulers, absolutely everybody's had to pull in the same direction to pull this off. And I know that the people who continue to travel through the pandemic with us have really appreciated our efforts. But yes, it's tweaking things on a daily basis, it would appear. But yes, we have delivered the services for the customers that still need them.
And getting customers is the hard bit, obviously, and overcoming the fear everybody obviously has about even stepping outside the front door. But stepping onto a bus, obviously you've got plenty of people that are, but what would your message be to those that really are struggling to get the confidence to do so?
Well, the government's messaging on avoiding public transport was really unhelpful, and I think it was a knee-jerk reaction because people assume that because public transport was an enclosed space that it's unsafe. That is actually not the case. We do swab testing on our vehicles. They actually show that the vehicles have no trace of COVID at all. And they're actually cleaner than the offices and hotels and shops and restaurants and other social settings that people go to. The bus is actually cleaner than all of those. And even dispatches sent someone from the Channel 4 to have a look, and they found the same. So public transport is actually very safe, and it might be useful just to play back to people everything we're doing to make sure it stays that way. And we have an enhanced cleaning regime on a daily basis. So every time the bus comes back to the garage, it receives a deep clean nightly. So therefore it's in tip-top condition when it goes out the following morning. We've got social distancing in place on the buses as well. So they're all running about 50% of capacity to make sure that people can space themselves out around the bus, so you won't find yourself in a crowded environment. We've got an ability, we've got a tool online where people can go and check which journeys are generally busy and which ones are quieter, so people can travel on. If they are worried about the journey being busy, they can pick a time when the journeys are less busy. We've had to put screens in place for our drivers, so when the customer's getting on and interacting with the driver, there is a physical barrier between them, which wasn't present on all vehicles before. We've taken out of use all of the face-to-face seating because that's perceived to be more of a risk than if everyone's forward-facing. And of course, we've got the thing where everybody's got to wear a face covering anyway. And we're trying to encourage people to use contactless payments and all of that to avoid having to handle cash. So when you add all those measures together, we are providing a really safe environment that's actually cleaner than people's own homes and going to the shops and restaurants and other things that people are doing on a daily basis.
And what's the feedback from the drivers? I mean, you're dealing with a massive uncontrollable variable in terms of the general public. Are they respectful of other passengers? Are you having, I'm sure you're not having loads of problems, but are you surprised and pleased at the way the public's generally handling itself, and therefore those fearing coming onto the buses need not to worry?
Yeah, absolutely. And our drivers are just as welcoming as they have always been, and particularly if you're using the park and ride, where there is an additional warm welcome, if you like, to the one that we have on all the other buses. All of that still applies. Yes, there has been some concern from driver colleagues about the virus. Of course, everybody is concerned about it, but the protective measures we've put in place has allowed them to come to work with confidence. We are COVID-19 secure. So we haven't had any issue with drivers not wanting to come to work. And of course, those that are clinically extremely vulnerable, we are protecting anyway. They are out of the business on furlough. But no, we would encourage people to get back on the bus. It is perfectly safe. The only grief our drivers are getting really is about people who are not wearing face covering. So whilst there are people who are exempt from wearing a covering, and we all understand that that's the case. There are people who are choosing not to wear a face covering, and that's where some concern and angst is coming from other passengers as well, asking the driver why he or she is not intervening. But it's not our responsibility to do that enforcement. That enforcement lies with the police. But 95% of passengers are wearing a face covering, and that's where we just need to reassure people that the vast majority of people who you're going to find on the bus are following the rules and are in a safe environment.
And as you said, that's significantly higher probably than you get anywhere else. So that's a
Absolutely.
under the circumstances. So in terms of talking, obviously, we're in a very difficult period of time, and we spoke before lockdown about all the services and new services that you were looking to launch. Where are you now in terms of the range of services that you offer? Because a lot of people won't be aware of some of the other organisations that come under your umbrella, such as City Sightseeing, for example.
No, you're right, Richard. People do notice the city buses because they're the obvious thing, but we do offer a number of other services now. One that's very new is that since Experience Oxfordshire had to close its visitor information centre, and that's left a void in the centre of Oxford for people to go and get their tickets for attractions and all of that. So we've opened a visitor information point on the High Street, which is not a direct replacement for the visitor information centre, but it is a place where people can go to get advice on things to do and to purchase tickets for attractions for which we've got a partnership. And therefore it is filling that void and allowing people to do all the tourist things in Oxford still. So we'd encourage people to come and speak to us about that. So if people have got any, if they're an attraction or they've got something that we can sell on their behalf in the tourism field, then we can very much do that. And we've obviously got the city sightseeing tours. So again, they've been successful in bringing people into Oxford, particularly at the moment, where things are struggling. But we do offer dedicated tours as well. So if people wanted to hire a city sightseeing bus for their own purposes, we can do that. If they wanted to include it in a conference of some sort, we can do either an open top bus tour, we can do a walking tour, we can do various things that are a bit quirky, and people can take advantage of that. We're even doing, for example, over the winter, a Christmas lights tour, which has been quite popular with people, where you can hire the bus with the lights on it. So we can do things like that too. But it's not just around the city. We do also run airport services. So if people are bringing in large amounts of people from Heathrow or Gatwick Airport, one of the things we try and encourage people to do is, if people are arriving as a group, they might want to hire a coach to bring everyone up together. And then they can go back on the service vehicles at a time of their choosing. If the conference or event doesn't finish at a fixed time and people are going back in dribs and drabs, they can use the service to go back on their own accord. Or the other way around, if people are arriving in dribs and drabs but they want to go back together, if people want to talk to us about that, we can sort arrangements out along those lines as well. But one of the main things we've been doing as well is working with businesses on bespoke transport as well, because if people are concerned about the virus and one of the things that might be a barrier to people coming back to work is having to get on the public transport, even though it is incredibly safe, as I outlined earlier, people still may want us to consider bespoke dedicated transport for businesses too. So we can look at that. So I would just encourage people to talk to us if they've got a transport issue, and we'll work with them to see what we can do.
Obviously, one of the long-standing partnerships that you've had has been with Oxford Brookes. So how long has that been for?
I mean, Oxford Brookes, we've been running the buses since 2009 for Oxford. Wow. And the contract now and the partnership, the really strong partnership arrangement we've got with Oxford Brookes University, are not the same now as they were in 2009, because the contract has just evolved from something relatively small. I think it was 11 vehicles back in 2009. Now it's 18 vehicles. And the ticketing has got more complicated. The partnership really is a deep partnership now. And that's because we've got mutual respect. We don't see contracts as something you just deliver to the letter. Yes, we have to have a contract, but we see it very much as we try and understand the spirit of a contract and work in partnership to develop that, rather than there's the contract, let's deliver the service, and that's the end of it. We very much see contracts as partnerships. not
That's
as
why we've got to 11 years, obviously, adding value where you possibly can.
No, absolutely, and you know, Brooks think very highly of us in the contract as well. It has been mutually beneficial. You know, they have 18 all over advert buses that go round the city, and they don't only just stay in the city. We use those buses as well to do events away from the city, and they're a really great advert for the university as well. So yeah, it's a really strong partnership, Richard.
And other organisations that you've got partnerships with, I think you've got a couple new partnerships recently formed.
Yeah, well, I'm delighted to say that we have just signed a new partnership with Milton Park. So that they formerly had a contract that just provided a shuttle bus from Didcot Parkway train station up to the park. So we are trying to take that partnership to the next level from January. So not only will we be allowing people who work at Milton Park to get on the bus, the normal buses that we run between Didcot Parkway and Milton Park, but we'll be extending the number of services that go to Milton Park to places like Wantage directly, and also extending our services that go up to Oxford to be more frequent. So the X2 service, for example, that goes through Abingdon and up to Oxford is going from every 30 minutes to every 20 minutes. And also the X32, which is the fast bus to Oxford, is going to be extended into East Oxford to go up to the JR hospital. So what we're trying to do is for a similar level of funding is give people enhanced connectivity, and working with Oxfordshire County Council as well, we've added who are also bringing some funding from new housing developments. The package is going to be really attractive to them. Hopefully we can develop a really deep partnership with them in a similar way that we have to Brooks.
And with also, I understand you've got a partnership with Oxford University and Harwell.
Yeah, and that's another success story. So, and that's taken many years to develop as well. So obviously, Oxford University, had a requirement for people to travel from various sites down to Harwell, as the relationship there has grown over the years, and therefore demand has grown. But it was in an awkward state, really, where whilst there was a demand for a certain number of people to travel, it didn't really support a commercial bus service, which is why we had to work in partnership. Now, initially, Oxford University decided to meet that need by having what we call a closed door service, which is provided by another operator, which meant that it wasn't available to the general public. People couldn't just turn up and use it, they had to book it. And of course, that was a barrier to people using it. So we worked with the university to try and transform that service really into a local bus service. So it was available to everybody. And obviously the economics of that service are therefore different. So we all had to take a bit of a risk. And we both now have sort of skin in the game, if you like, to grow the patronage. And I'm pleased to say that since we launched this service back in the summer of 2018, we really have grown that patronage together. I think we've more than doubled the patronage. And that is a real success story as well. And unfortunately, COVID has knocked it back a little bit. But in terms of the progress we were making and the encouragement we were providing and the quality of the vehicles and the quality of the service to get people onto the bus, it's been tremendously successful. And we've developed that partnership together. And again, we're hoping that goes from strength to strength as well.
Obviously, these partnerships don't happen overnight, and a lot of work goes into them on both sides. So, anybody interested in trying to emulate what you've done with the aforementioned 3 partners that you've got, what's the first port of call? Get in contact with you or a colleague?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to talk to anyone in the first instance about what their requirements are, but I have a very good team that works for me as well. We have Luke Marion, who's our finance and commercial director. He can add some insight into what a partnership might look like, not just in terms of service provision, but also in terms of ticketing arrangements as well. So we have various types of ticket that we can talk to potential interested partners about. We have, if there are lots of people that are traveling, we can provide bulk discounts on smart cards, for example, or we can arrange for people who work at a particular employer to self-help, where they can go onto the website themselves and put in a code, and that will give them a discount, which the employer can then fund, and that amount could be 5%, 10%, 20%, could be 100% if people really want to do that. But we have a sort of toolkit, really, is probably the best way of putting it, of things that employers could work with us on. And then you just pick the tools that suit you, and we can deliver them. And obviously we're continually improving this as well. We now have all of our buses equipped with what we call tap in, tap out, which is a bit like the London Oyster system, where you tap in when you get on the bus, you tap off when you get tap out when you get off the bus, and then your fare is calculated in the background. And if you are a partner who wishes to fund discounts or whatever, then we can apply that automatically in the background. So the customer just taps on, taps off, and the token that they use, which is normally a debit card, as long as we can identify that back to the business, then we can potentially just give offers bespoke to that employer. So there's lots of things we can do now with bus travel and encouraging people to use the bus. And of course, the government's recently announced as well about getting to net zero by 2050 and accelerating things like no petrol and diesel cars on sale after 2030. All of these things are going to have to lead to behavioural change. And I would just encourage fellow B4 members to think of us and to talk to us and to see what solutions we can develop together, because they're all there to be had.
Also, would you encourage thinking outside the box? I mean, the partners that we've mentioned on this particular call, Oxford University and Harwell, Brooks and Milton Park, big organisations, but would you look at a partnership, an amalgamation of different smaller partners? Can that work equally, or does that start to get complicated, or is that the sort of outside the box thinking that you're welcoming?
No, we work with smaller employers as well. I think all I would say is that why it works better with the bigger ones is because they have some resource to dedicate to making it work. So as long as there is somebody within a business that has that inspiration, if you like, to want to do things differently and is prepared to devote some time to it, then yes, we can work with smaller businesses as much as bigger businesses. Because really, if I'm being honest with you, we are the transport experts. When a company first comes to us, they quite often don't know what they want. They've got a problem that they want sorting, but they don't know how to resolve it. And that's why we have to basically run the options past them, work with them then to find out, what's the best solution that's going to work for you. And then we put that into practice and we monitor it and we work with people over time, because achieving behavioural change is not a quick fix. When people, one of the more common things lately is people want the space that they've allocated to car parking used for something else, whether that's additional buildings or, in the case of East Oxford, it might be charged for parking spaces. So people are beginning to think, well, what other uses can I put that car parking space to? But how can I still encourage people to get, work for the employer? Because obviously we know recruitment is tight in Oxfordshire. But, so you've got to strike a balance between, doing the right thing for the business, but making sure that your employees are still attracted to work with you. And that's where we can provide really frequent services, affordable services, as long as the employer works in partnership with us to get to the best solution.
You're talking about a lot of this is reliant on behavioural change, but where are you in the grand scheme of things nationally? Are there other areas which are further down the track in terms of the services they provide for local businesses and organisations, and other countries? Do you look to other countries where there are examples where this is much more commonplace, and that's sort of that model you'd like to emulate here?
Well, I mean, I know I would say this, Richard, but I like to think we are sort of at the forefront of technological development. We were the first in outside of London. We were one of the first in the country to offer this tap in, tap out functionality. We are part of a wider group, a Go Ahead Group PLC, and obviously that gives us some backing where we can develop solutions. And we do actually have our own ticketing solutions company where we've tried to make things like mobility as a service work, for example, by being able to include rail journeys, because one of the other things that Go Ahead Group does is provide rail franchises and rail services. So allowing those rail tickets to be included in a solution is something that we're looking at as well. So the support of having the parent company behind us and the innovation we've got locally and the passion we've got locally to work with partners to make this work means that we believe we offer a sort of unique sort of set of circumstances. And as I said earlier, we never view contracts as contracts. We review them as partnerships to be developed. And that therefore, our thinking to bespoke solutions to different employers is seen as innovative nationally. And we did actually win the Bus Operator of the Year in 2019 nationally because of that. The package of things we do. We also do things for the charitable sector. So you know that our annual Brand the Bus competition is really popular and it's live again now. So any charity out there that fancies having a bus in their charity livery has still got the chance to enter. That's open till the end of December in 2020, and it's another thing that we're seeing as supporting our communities in as well. So the broad range of things that we do has been recognised nationally. So we do think we're at the front of innovation and coming up with solutions for our partners.
Fantastic, brilliant. Well, I'm not sure there's anything else that you wanted to add, but it's been great to catch up with you, Phil. And obviously, it's not the easiest of time, but there do appear to be some green shoots there that you can hopefully see some light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, well, we do believe that mass transit is here to stay. You know, people may be a little concerned at the moment, a bit reluctant, but you know, we're going to see that when we come out the other side of this, which we will do. It's, you know, my immediate priorities will be about rebuilding that confidence and giving people that confidence to get back on the buses. Obviously, various different employers may be making their own minds up about how they want working arrangements to be going forward. And again, I think there is increasing requests coming into us for part-time tickets and tickets that are more suitable for people that don't want to travel every day because they want to work from home more often. And all of this is possible. Again, we're looking at solutions on the tap in, tap out system where, you know, the amount you get charged by journey will vary depending on the number of days a week you travel. So all of this is possible. And of course, if employees are looking to their employer to provide those sort of solutions, then we can work with people to develop those as well. So yes, times are tough, but our belief, you know, firm belief is that mass transit is still going to be required, both for work and for leisure. And it's our responsibility to try and work with employers to make sure that that's as clean and green as possible. And with the government now announcing that as a priority, that they wish to move towards zero carbon or net zero carbon for 2050, you know, we need to start now on making that a reality. And of course, Oxford and Coventry have been shortlisted nationally as the two cities that the government wishes to invest in electric buses in. And therefore, we are at the moment working at the business case for how we can make that a reality. So people, you know, need to get back on the bus. They need to feel like they're traveling on a clean zero emission bus to basically make their contribution to a cleaner city and county that we live in here in Oxfordshire.
So thanks, Phil. Regarding partnerships, obviously you referenced Oxford Bus Company's partnership with Oxford University and Harwell, and we've got Adam Bowes from Oxford University just to give us a little bit more of a background about how the partnership's working for them. Adam Bowes, Sustainable Transport Manager, Estate Services, University of Oxford, said, Thames Travel has been operating the Science Transit Shuttle as a public bus service since 2019 on behalf of the university and the Science and Technology Facilities Council. It was previously not available to the general public, and we saw that as a barrier to growing the service. Thames Travel has put a huge amount of work into the partnership, listening to the needs of the service users and ensuring excellent customer service. As a result, prior to the pandemic, patronage was growing strongly, and the service had tweaked timetables to maintain reliability and ensure high frequency during peak periods, in spite of Oxford's problematic traffic congestion. Throughout the pandemic, the service has continued, ensuring that the essential research facilities in Oxford's science area and Harwell campus remain physically connected and enabling the continued development of innovative technologies. Post-pandemic, the partnership will ensure patronage levels resume a growth trajectory, and the shuttle provides an excellent service for researchers, commuters, and public travellers. Customer focus, efficient use of business data, sharing commercial insights, and two-way dialogue has been central to this effective partnership working. I mean, I suppose in the grand scheme of things, Phil, the partnership work that you do isn't a massive part of the overall business, but it's a growing part, I would imagine.
No, absolutely. So our bread and butter is to run frequent local bus services, but increasingly so, you know, we need to diversify into other areas as well. The tourist market is something that since we bought the city sightseeing business at the end of 2017 is a growing part of our business. Now, increasingly, we are doing more, and the Oxford Pass that we launched a couple of years ago, we're reinvigorating that in 2021 to try and, again, include the attractions that people want to go to. We're trying to make it bigger and better. We're trying to put it online rather than have to physically have a pass in your hand. So tourism products is an area that we're very keen to develop. But, you know, and that's why working in partnership and making sure that we're selling the right things in our visitor information point in the city centre is going to be important for our future growth. And similarly, you know, going to and from airports, whilst it's not the most popular thing to do at the moment, I have to say, you know, people are going to want to go on holiday again. People are going to want to hold conferences and things to get people from airports who are travelling internationally. You know, and we just need to make people make B4 members aware of how that can be simplified for them. And you don't always have to spend money on expensive taxis to achieve a good personal service. So yeah, that's why we're happy to work up bespoke solutions for fellow B4 members.
And beyond.
And beyond, yes.
So Phil, thanks very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to see you. Hopefully we'll catch up in the new year, and good luck with all the new initiatives.
No, thank you, Richard. It's been a pleasure, and I wish all fellow B4 members all the best.
Thank you.